I am 24 years old. For most of my life, I have tried to be a good daughter. It never seemed to be enough for my mother. She always wanted more, but what she wanted was always changing. One day it was better grades. The next, it was a different group of friends. Then it was a different career path. I learned to keep my head down and not make waves. It was easier that way. Keeping the peace was my main goal. My stepfather, Robert, always told me it was the best way to handle her. He would say she just loved me and wanted the best for me. I think he actually believed it. The family cruise was my mother's idea. She called it a mandatory family bonding experience. My older brother, Leo, was excited. He and his wife, Sarah, loved any excuse for a vacation, especially a free one. My mother, Diana, was paying for everyone. She held that over our heads from the moment she booked the tickets. Every phone call for 2 months started with, "Since I'm being so generous with this cruise." I knew it was not about generosity. It was about control. A cruise ship is a floating cage. There is nowhere to run when the drama starts. I had a bad feeling about it from the beginning, but I agreed to go. It was easier than fighting. The first few days were tense but manageable. My mother made her usual backhanded comments. She told me my dress for dinner was a little plain. She said Sarah's dress was stunning. She asked me why I was not more like Sarah. I just smiled and said I liked my dress. She complimented Leo on his promotion at work. Then she looked at me and asked when I was going to get a real job. I worked as a freelance graphic designer. I made enough to support myself. But to her, it was not a real job. It was not something she could brag about to her friends. I ignored the comment and ate my soup. Every meal was a performance. I was the family disappointment. Leo was the golden child. Robert was the placid audience, clapping for my mother's every line. The breaking point came on the 4th day. We were at sea, somewhere between 2 tropical islands. I had decided to skip the family breakfast. I needed a break. I went to the quiet adult pool on the upper deck. I found a lounge chair in the corner and opened my book. The piece lasted for about an hour. Then I heard her voice. It was sharp and loud. "There you are. We have been looking everywhere for you." I looked up. My mother stood over me, her hands on her hips. Her face was a mask of fury. Robert and Leo were a few steps behind her, looking uncomfortable. "I decided to have a quiet morning," I said. "A quiet morning?" she repeated. Her voice dripped with scorn. "You decided to disrespect your family. We had a breakfast reservation. You knew that." "I was not hungry," I said calmly. "I sent you a text." "I do not care about your text," she snapped. "You are here to be with your family, not to hide away with a book like some antisocial little mouse." I felt a familiar sting of shame, but I pushed it down. I was tired of feeling small. "I am with my family all day, every day on this ship," I said. My voice was even. "I am allowed to have 1 hour to myself." Her eyes narrowed. This was not the response she expected. She expected me to apologize. She expected me to fold. I did not. I just looked back at her, waiting. I saw a flicker of something in her eyes. It was the moment she decided to punish me. She loved to punish people who defied her. "You have a terrible attitude, young lady," she said. Her voice was suddenly cold and quiet. That was always more dangerous than her shouting. "A very ungrateful attitude. After everything I have done for you? After I paid for this entire trip?" "I am grateful for the trip," I said. "But my gratitude does not mean you own every minute of my time." She let out a short, sharp laugh. It was a horrible sound. "You think you are so independent, do you not? You think you can do whatever you want." She took a step closer. Her shadow fell over me. I did not flinch. Robert put a hand on her arm. "Diana, maybe we should talk about this later," he said softly. She shook him off. "No, we will talk about it now." She looked straight into my eyes. A cruel smile played on her lips. "You want to be independent?" Fine, you can be independent. When we get to the next port, you can find your own way home. Your ticket home is canceled. I just stared at her. The words hung in the air between us. Canceled. She was going to strand me in a foreign country. My brother Leo shifted his feet. He would not meet my eyes. My stepfather looked pale. He opened his mouth to say something, but my mother shot him a look that silenced him instantly. This was her show. My heart was pounding in my chest. For a second, pure panic washed over me. Stranded. No flight. No easy way home. But then, another feeling pushed the panic away. It was a cold, hard resolve. This was the line. She had finally crossed a line she could never uncross. The years of small cuts and public humiliations had led to this grand, dramatic gesture of cruelty. And I was not going to let her win. I would not beg. I would not cry. I took a slow breath. I looked at her angry, triumphant face, and I smiled. It was a small, calm smile. It was not the reaction she wanted. It confused her. I could see it in the way her own smile faltered. "Okay," I said, my voice as light as the ocean breeze. Her brow furrowed. "Okay? That is all you have to say?" "Yes," I said. "Okay." I closed my book, stood up, and walked away, leaving them standing there by the pool. I did not look back. I felt their eyes on me, but I kept walking. My mind was already working. She thought she had me trapped. She thought she had all the power. She was wrong. She had no idea what I had discovered a month before we ever stepped foot on this ship. She had no idea what I was capable of. I went back to my cabin. The little room felt like a safe haven. I locked the door and sat on the edge of the bed. My hands were shaking slightly, but not from fear. It was adrenaline. The confrontation had been short, but it was a declaration of war. My mother had made her move. Now it was my turn. I took out my laptop. I had brought it with me for work, but now it was my weapon. I opened a locked folder on my desktop. The folder was named Insurance. Inside were scanned copies of documents, bank statements, private emails, transfer logs. It was a detailed record of my mother's secret. For the past 3 years, she had been systematically embezzling money from my stepfather's company. It was not a huge amount each time. Just a few $1,000s here and there, moved into a private account under her maiden name. But it added up. Over 3 years, it was almost $500,000. I had found it by accident. My stepfather had asked me to help him organize some digital files for the company's annual audit. He was not very tech-savvy and trusted me. I was just sorting files when I noticed an anomaly. A recurring payment to a consulting firm I had never heard of. The invoices looked fake. I did a little digging. The consulting firm was a shell company, and the bank account it was paid into belonged to Diana. My first feeling was shock. Then, a deep, hollow sadness. My mother was a thief. She was stealing from the man who gave her everything, the man who defended her and enabled her bad behavior. I did not know what to do. I thought about telling Robert, but I was afraid. Afraid he would not believe me. Afraid he would choose her over the truth. He loved her blindly. So I kept the files. I made copies. I put them in a secure folder and named it Insurance. I did not know when I would need it, but I had a feeling the day would come. That day was today. My mother thought she could control me with a plane ticket. She was about to find out that I could control her with a single email. My plan started to form. I needed to be careful. I needed to be strategic. I could not just confront her in the middle of the dining hall. I needed leverage. I needed witnesses. And I needed an exit strategy. My first step was to confirm the ticket cancellation. I tried to log into the airline's website using the ship's Wi-Fi. Access denied. My internet privileges had been cut off. Of course, she was thorough. She had probably called the ship's administration and had my account flagged. That was her style. Total control. I needed another way to get online. I thought about the business center. They had computers for guests to use. I left my cabin and walked towards the center. The ship felt different now. Every smiling face I passed seemed to be in on my mother's secret, laughing at me. I knew it was just paranoia, but the feeling was strong. I felt isolated, hunted. The business center was mostly empty. An older gentleman was typing slowly on one keyboard. I sat down at a computer in the corner, far away from him. I tried to log in with my cabin number. Blocked. A message popped up. Please see the front desk for assistance with your account. My mother had locked me out completely. She really was trying to make this as difficult as possible. She wanted me to feel helpless. I sat back in the chair, thinking, I could not use any ship services tied to my name. What about my phone? I had an international data plan, but the maritime connection was notoriously slow and expensive. I decided to save that as a last resort. I needed a better option. I decided to talk to my brother. Leo was weak, and he always followed my mother's lead. But sometimes, if I caught him alone, he had moments of conscience. I found him and Sarah near the rock climbing wall. He was cheering her on as she tried to make her way up. Leo, I said. He turned and his smile faded when he saw me. Oh, hey, Clara. Sarah, who was only a few feet up the wall, looked down. Is everything okay? She asked. She was always nicer to me when my mother was not around. Can I talk to you for a minute, Leo? I asked, ignoring her question. I needed to speak to him alone. He glanced back at Sarah, then nodded. He walked over to a bench a short distance away. I followed him. What is going on? He asked. He still would not look me in the eye. Mom told me she canceled my flight home, I said. He winced. Yeah, I heard. That was intense. Is she serious? I asked. He finally looked at me. His expression was a mixture of pity and frustration. You know how she gets, Clara. You pushed her. You should have just come to breakfast. I felt a flash of anger. So this is my fault? She is threatening to abandon me in another country. And it is my fault? I did not say that, he said quickly. I am just saying you know how to handle her. You just have to play the game. Apologize. Tell her you were wrong. She will calm down and fix it. No, I said. I am not apologizing. I did nothing wrong. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. Clara, do not be stubborn. Just be the bigger person. What are you going to do? You have no money for a new ticket. She cut off your card. I froze. She cut off my card. My bank card was linked to a joint account we had. It was an old account from when I was a teenager. I barely used it, but I kept it for emergencies. I had transferred some of my own money into it before the trip, just in case. She had access to it. She had probably emptied it. She did what? I asked, my voice dangerously low. She said you needed to learn a lesson about financial responsibility. Leo mumbled. She said since you think you are so independent, you can figure it out yourself. The cold resolve in my gut hardened into ice. This was not just a punishment anymore. This was an attempt to completely destroy me, to leave me destitute and stranded. All because I wanted to read a book by myself for an hour. The cruelty of it was breathtaking. Thank you for telling me, Leo, I said. My voice was flat, emotionless. He looked relieved. So you will go talk to her? You will fix this? Oh, I will fix this, I said, but not in the way you think. I turned and walked away before he could say another word. My mind was racing. The situation was worse than I thought. She had not just canceled my flight. She had taken my money. She was trying to break me, but she was underestimating me. She had been underestimating me my entire life. I needed a new plan. My digital files were my trump card, but I needed a way to use them. I needed to get a message out. I needed an ally on this ship, someone with authority, someone my mother could not bully or control. My thoughts drifted back to the first day of the cruise. During the mandatory safety drill, I had been standing near a group of officers. One of them, a man with graying temples and kind eyes, had dropped his pen. I picked it up for him. He had thanked me with a warm smile. His name tag said Captain Evans. He was the captain of the ship. It was a long shot, a crazy idea. But it was the only one I had. What would I even say to him? "Excuse me, Captain. My mother is a tyrant and a thief. Can you help me?" He would think I was a lunatic. I needed a reason to talk to him, a way to get his attention without sounding hysterical. I spent the rest of the day avoiding my family. I ate a sandwich at a small cafe on a lower deck. I read my book. But my mind was not on the words. It was on my mother, on her smug, satisfied face. She thought she had won. She was probably sitting at dinner with Robert and Leo right now, telling them how I would come crawling back to her any minute. That evening, there was a formal reception, the captain's welcome gala. Everyone would be there, dressed in their best clothes. It was the perfect opportunity. I could approach the captain in a public setting. It would be harder for him to dismiss me. I went back to my cabin and looked at the dress I had planned to wear. It was the one my mother had called plain. It was a simple, elegant navy blue dress. I put it on. I looked at myself in the mirror. I did not see a scared little mouse. I saw a woman who was about to fight for her life. The gala was in the ship's grand ballroom. A string quartet was playing. People were laughing and drinking champagne. I scanned the room, looking for the captain. I spotted him near the stage, talking to a small group of passengers. He was just as I remembered. Tall, distinguished, with a calm and confident air. My heart started to beat faster. This was it. I took a deep breath and started to walk towards him. As I got closer, I saw my mother. She was standing not far from the captain's group, holding a glass of wine. She saw me. Her eyes swept over my dress, and she gave a small, dismissive sneer. Then her eyes met mine, and her expression changed. She saw the look on my face, the determination, the lack of fear. She raised an eyebrow as if to say, "What are you planning now?" I ignored her. I walked right past her and straight to the captain. I waited for a pause in the conversation. When it came, I stepped forward. "Captain Evans?" I said. He turned to me. His eyes were friendly. "Yes?" "I am sorry to interrupt," I said. "My name is Clara. We met briefly at the safety drill. I wonder if I might have a moment of your time. It is a matter of some urgency." Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my mother stiffen. She was listening to every word. This was not part of her plan. The captain looked at me, his expression shifting from polite to concerned. He saw something in my face. The desperation I was trying so hard to hide. "Of course," he said. He excused himself from the group and led me to a quieter corner of the ballroom. "What can I do for you, Clara?" he asked. His voice was gentle. My palms were sweating. I had to choose my words carefully. I could not unload the entire story on him at once. I had to build his trust. "Captain," I began, "I have a rather unusual and sensitive problem. It involves a personal family matter, but it has escalated to a point where I fear for my safety and well-being." His brow furrowed. "Your safety? Are you being threatened?" "In a way," I said. "It is not a physical threat. It is a threat of abandonment. My family is threatening to leave me stranded at our next port of call without a ticket home or any access to money." The captain was silent for a moment. Processing this, he had probably heard all sorts of strange passenger complaints, but this seemed to be a new one. "That is a very serious accusation," he said slowly. "I know," I said, "and I would not bother you with it if it were not true. My mother informed me this morning that my flight home has been canceled. She also had my access to the ship's services and my bank account frozen." He looked genuinely shocked. "Your own mother did this?" "Yes," I said. "We had a disagreement. She is trying to teach me a lesson." The captain looked over my shoulder towards the crowd. He saw my mother watching us, her face like thunder. He looked back at me. "I see," he said. His voice was grim. "This is highly irregular. The cruise line has a duty of care to all its passengers. We cannot simply abandon someone in a foreign port." I felt a surge of hope. He was listening. He was taking me seriously. "That is what I was hoping," I said. "Is there anything you can do? Can you verify that my flight was canceled? Can you help me get access to communications so I can arrange for a new one?" He thought for a moment. "The ship's authority in these matters is limited. We cannot interfere in family disputes. However, we also cannot allow a passenger to be put in a dangerous situation. Let me look into this personally. I will check the passenger manifest and our communication logs. Can you meet me tomorrow morning? Say 10 o'clock in my office?" "Yes," I said, my voice filled with relief. "Thank you, Captain. Thank you so much." "Do not thank me yet," he said. "Let us see what we can find out first. In the meantime, try to stay clear of your family. If you feel unsafe, you can contact ship security at any time. They will escort you to your cabin." "I will," I said. "Thank you." He gave me a reassuring nod and then walked back to his guests. I turned to leave and I came face to face with my mother. She had been waiting for me. "What was that all about?" she demanded, her voice a low hiss. "Just having a pleasant chat with the captain," I said breezily. "Do not play games with me, Clara," she seethed. "What did you say to him?" "I told him what you did," I said, meeting her furious gaze without blinking. "I told him you canceled my flight and are planning to abandon me." Her face went pale, then flushed with rage. "How dare you? You are airing our family business to a stranger? You are trying to embarrass me? You embarrassed yourself when you decided to treat your daughter like garbage," I said. My voice was shaking, but I did not care. The dam of my silence was finally breaking. "You think you can just throw me away? You think I will just roll over and accept it? You are wrong. You will regret this," she whispered, her eyes full of venom. "You have no idea what you have just done." "No, Mom," I said, my voice dropping to a whisper too. "You have no idea what you have done." I walked away from her, my head held high. I could feel her stare burning into my back. I went straight to my cabin and locked the door. I had made my first move. I had an appointment with the captain. It was a small step, but it was a start. The war had begun. I barely slept that night. I kept replaying the scene with my mother over and over in my head. Her shock, her rage, the way she looked at me as if I was a stranger. In that moment, I think I did become a stranger to her. The compliant, quiet daughter she knew was gone. Someone new was in her place. Someone she did not recognize and could not control. The next morning, I got ready for my meeting. I chose my clothes carefully. I wore simple black pants and a white blouse. I wanted to look serious and professional. Not like a hysterical girl running to the principal. I was a woman with a serious problem, seeking a professional solution. At 10 o'clock sharp, I knocked on the door to the captain's office. A voice from inside said, "Come in." I opened the door and stepped inside. The office was spacious and well-appointed, with large windows overlooking the ocean. Captain Evans was sitting behind a large wooden desk. He was not alone. A woman in a crisp uniform sat in a chair next to his desk. "Clara, please come in," the captain said, standing up. "This is Maria, our head of passenger services." Maria nodded at me with a polite but unsmiling expression. I felt a knot of anxiety in my stomach. Was she here to help, or was she here to manage the problem passenger? "Please, have a seat," the captain said, gesturing to the chair opposite his desk. I sat down. The chair was soft, but I sat on the edge of it, my back straight. "Thank you for seeing me," I said. "Of course," he replied. He sat back down and folded his hands on the desk. "I have done some preliminary checking, as I promised. And what you told me appears to be true. I let out a breath I did not realize I was holding. Your return flight confirmation was indeed canceled yesterday morning, he continued. The request came from the primary cardholder who booked the tickets, your mother. And my shipboard account? I asked. Maria spoke for the first time. Her voice was clipped and professional. Your account has been restricted at the request of the primary account holder for this booking. All charging privileges have been suspended. So I cannot even use the internet to book a new flight, I said. That is correct, Maria said. The captain leaned forward. Clara, as I said last night, this is a family matter. The cruise line cannot force your mother to rebook your flight. Our legal position is complicated. So you are saying you cannot help me? I said, my heart sinking. I am saying our official options are limited, he corrected me. Officially, Maria can provide you with a list of port agents at our next destination. They can assist you with booking travel and accommodation, but you would have to pay for it yourself. And my mother took all my money, I said flatly. So that is not an option. The room was silent for a moment. The gentle hum of the ship's engines was the only sound. I felt a wave of despair. Was this it? Was I truly stuck? However, the captain said, breaking the silence. His eyes met mine. There was a glimmer of something in them, something beyond professional duty. Unofficially, I find this situation deeply disturbing. On a personal level, I have a daughter your age. The idea of doing something like this to her is unthinkable. I looked at him, hope flickering back to life. I cannot order your mother to do anything, he said. But I can facilitate a conversation. I can offer you a neutral space to mediate this dispute. If you and your mother agree, I am willing to host a meeting here in my office, with both myself and Maria present as witnesses. This was better than I had hoped. A formal meeting. Witnesses in positions of authority. This was the perfect stage for what I had planned. I would agree to that, I said immediately. But I do not think my mother will. She wants me to come to her and beg. She will not agree to a meeting where she is not in control. The captain smiled faintly. Let us leave that to Maria. She is very persuasive. Maria looked at me. Her expression had softened slightly. We have a responsibility to ensure the safety of all our passengers, miss. Your mother may not like it, but she will attend the meeting. A formal request from the captain's office is not something passengers ignore. When would this meeting happen? I asked. We dock in 2 days, the captain said. We need to resolve this before then. I propose we meet tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock. That gives your mother time to think. Maria will extend the invitation to her this afternoon. Okay, I said. I felt a sense of momentum. Things were moving. I was not just reacting anymore. I was acting. There is one more thing, the captain said. He slid a small white card across the desk towards me. This is a temporary access card. It will allow you to use the business center computers for the next 24 hours. I have also authorized a 1-hour satellite internet package for you, free of charge. Use it wisely. I picked up the card. It felt heavy in my hand. It was a lifeline. Captain, I do not know how to thank you. Find a solution that gets you home safely, he said. That will be thanks enough. I left the captain's office feeling 1,000 pounds lighter. I had an ally. I had a plan. And now I had the means to execute it. I went straight to the business center. I sat down at a terminal, slid the temporary card into the slot, and logged on. The screen lit up with the familiar desktop. I was in. I had 1 hour of internet. I had to make it count. My first priority was to secure my leverage. The copies on my laptop were good, but I needed them to be accessible from anywhere. I opened my email, attached the entire insurance folder, and sent it to a private, anonymous email address I had created years ago. Then I uploaded the folder to a secure cloud storage account, also protected by a password that only I knew. The files were now safe and accessible. If my mother somehow got her hands on my laptop, It would not matter. Next, I did a quick search. I looked up the penalties for corporate embezzlement. The numbers were stark. Fines in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Prison time. My stepfather's company could be ruined by the scandal. His reputation would be destroyed. This was not just about my mother anymore. It was about him, too. And he had chosen to stand by and watch her try to destroy me. He was not an innocent bystander. He was an accomplice. My hour was almost up. I had one last thing to do. I opened a new browser window and went to the airline's website. I looked up one-way flights from our next port of call back to my home city. I found one, a first-class ticket. It was expensive, obscenely expensive. But it was not about the money. It was about the principle. I took a screenshot of the flight details and the price. I saved it to my desktop. Then, my time was up. The connection died. I logged out of the computer and walked out of the business center. I had everything I needed. The evidence was secured. The stage was set for the meeting. And I knew exactly what my demands would be. Later that afternoon, I saw Maria talking to my mother by the main pool. I watched from a distance. My mother's posture was rigid. She was gesturing angrily. Maria remained calm and professional, speaking in a low, firm voice. After a few minutes, my mother gave a sharp, frustrated nod. She had agreed to the meeting. She had no choice. To refuse a direct request from the captain's office would make her look unreasonable and guilty. Her public image was everything to her. The rest of the day was quiet. I stayed in my cabin. I ordered room service, which I paid for with the small amount of cash I had in my wallet. My family did not try to contact me. The silence was unnerving. I knew my mother was stewing. She was planning her strategy for the meeting. She would come in expecting me to be emotional and irrational. She would try to paint me as a spoiled, ungrateful child who was throwing a tantrum. She would play the victim. The loving mother hurt by her difficult daughter. It was a role she had perfected over many years, but this time the script was going to change. And I was the one writing it. The next morning, I dressed with the same care as the day before. Simple, professional, and calm. I walked to the captain's office a few minutes before 11. I knocked. The captain's voice told me to enter. He and Maria were already there, in the same seats as yesterday. "Good morning, Clara," the captain said. "Are you ready?" "Yes," I said. I was nervous, but I was also ready. I had been preparing for this confrontation my whole life. We waited in silence. A few minutes later, there was a loud knock on the door. It was my mother. She did not wait for an invitation. She opened the door and strode in. Robert and Leo followed her like a royal procession. "Captain," my mother said, her voice dripping with fake politeness. "Thank you for arranging this. I am sure we can clear up this little misunderstanding very quickly." She did not look at me. She acted as if I was not even in the room. "Please have a seat," the captain said, gesturing to the 3 empty chairs opposite me. They sat down. My mother was in the middle, flanked by her husband and her son. They looked like a united front, a panel of judges ready to deliver their verdict on me. The captain cleared his throat. "Thank you all for coming. The purpose of this meeting is to find a resolution to the issue of Clara's travel arrangements. As it stands, she does not have a ticket home, and we dock tomorrow. This is an unacceptable situation from the cruise line's perspective." My mother smiled, a tight, unpleasant smile. "Captain, I appreciate your concern, but this is a private family matter. My daughter has been exhibiting some very troubling and disrespectful behavior. My husband and I felt that a firm lesson was required." "A lesson that involves abandoning her in a foreign country?" the captain asked, his voice neutral. "That was never our intention." Robert chimed in, his voice placating. "It was a temporary measure to get her attention. Of course we were going to arrange a flight for her. Eventually, once she apologized and showed some remorse." I almost laughed. The lies were so practiced, so smooth. "I see," the captain said. He looked at me. "Clara, Do you have anything to say? This was my moment. I took a slow breath and looked directly at my mother. For the first time, she was forced to meet my gaze. I will not be apologizing, I said, my voice clear and steady. I have done nothing to apologize for. What you did was not a lesson. It was cruel and punitive. And it is over. My mother scoffed. Oh, is it? And what are you going to do about it? You have no ticket. You have no money. You have no options, Clara, except to do as you are told. I reached into my bag and pulled out my laptop. I placed it on the corner of the captain's desk and opened it. I turned the screen so my family could see it. I have options, I said. You are right. I do not have a ticket, but I have found one. A very nice one, in fact. I clicked on the screenshot I had saved. The image of the first-class flight details filled the screen. The price was clearly visible at the bottom. Robert's eyes widened. That is ridiculous. We are not paying for that. And you took my money, I continued, my voice still calm. So I cannot pay for it either, which means we have a problem. But I also have a solution. I closed the image of the flight and opened the folder named Insurance. The list of files appeared on the screen. File names like Q3 transfers.pdf, Shell Corp emails.eml, Diana Private Act statements.pdf. My mother stared at the screen. Her face went completely white. She recognized the names. She knew what she was looking at. Robert leaned forward, squinting at the screen. He did not understand yet, but he could see the panic in his wife's eyes. What is this? He asked, his voice laced with confusion. Clara, what are you doing? I am showing you my solution, I said. I looked at my mother. Her mask of composure was gone. All that was left was raw, naked fear. You have until we dock tomorrow morning to meet my terms, I said. My mother found her voice. It was a strangled whisper. You would not. Try me, I said. My voice was ice. You thought you could throw me away? You thought I was worthless. You are about to learn what I am worth. The captain and Maria were watching this exchange in stunned silence. This had gone far beyond a simple family dispute over a plane ticket. What are you talking about? Robert demanded, his voice rising. Diana, what is this? He looked from my face to his wife's. He was starting to put the pieces together. The fear on her face. The file names on the screen. My mother did not answer him. She just stared at me, her eyes pleading. For the first time in my life, I saw her look weak. It was a strange and unsettling sight. My terms are very simple, I said, addressing my mother directly, but speaking loudly enough for everyone to hear. First, you will book that exact first-class flight for me. You will forward me the confirmation email before this meeting is over. I paused. No one spoke. Second, I continued, you will transfer all the money you took from my bank account back into it, plus an additional $20,000 for emotional distress. Leo made a choked sound. $20,000? Are you insane? I ignored him. Third, there is a trust fund that my grandparents set up for me. I am supposed to have full access to it now that I am over 21. You have been blocking my access to it for 3 years, making excuses. You will call the bank from this office right now and remove all restrictions. I want full, unconditional access to my own money. Robert looked like he had been punched in the gut. A trust fund? Diana, you told me her grandparents left her nothing. My mother flinched. Her web of lies was unraveling, thread by thread. And finally, I said, delivering the last blow, you will apologize. Not just to me. You will apologize to Captain Evans and to Maria for wasting their time and bringing your disgusting family drama onto their ship. And then you will apologize to me, in front of them. You will say you were wrong. The silence in the room was absolute. My mother's face was a mess of emotions. Rage, fear, humiliation, disbelief. She looked at Robert, but he was staring at the laptop screen, his face ashen. She looked at Leo. but he was looking at the floor. She had no allies here. Not anymore. She looked back at me. "You are destroying this family," she whispered. "I am not a monster." I felt a pang of something, seeing her so broken. But then I remembered her face by the pool. The cruel smile. The triumphant look in her eyes as she told me she was canceling my ticket. The years of being made to feel small and worthless. The cold resolve returned. "No," I said. "You destroyed this family a long time ago. I am just cleaning up the mess." The captain finally spoke. His voice was quiet but firm. "Diana," he said, using her first name, "I suggest you consider your daughter's terms very carefully." He did not know the details of what was in those files, but he could see it was something powerful enough to turn the tables completely. My mother stared at me for a long, long moment. I could see the fight in her eyes warring with the terror. She was calculating, weighing her options, public ruin versus private humiliation. It was an easy choice for a woman like her. Finally, she broke. Her shoulders slumped in defeat. "Fine," she breathed. The word was barely audible. "Fine?" I asked. "I want to hear you say it clearly. You agree to all my terms." She closed her eyes. A single tear tracked down her cheek. It was a tear of rage, not sorrow. "Yes," she said, her voice trembling with suppressed fury. "I agree." "Good," I said. I pushed the laptop towards her. "Book the flight. Now." Robert looked up, his eyes dazed. "Diana, what did you do?" "Shut up, Robert," she hissed without looking at him. Her hands were shaking as she navigated to the airline's website. She typed in the flight details. Her movements jerky. She pulled out her credit card and booked the first-class ticket. A few moments later, an email notification popped up on my phone. The flight was confirmed. "Now the money," I said. She logged into her bank account. She transferred the money she had taken from me. Then she hesitated. "20,000 is too much," she whispered. I reached for my laptop. Should I start opening these files? Maybe Robert would be interested in the one labeled Bahamas account. Her head snapped up. She typed in the number and made the transfer. Another notification on my phone. "Now the trust fund," I commanded, on speakerphone. She looked at Maria. "I need to make a phone call." Maria nodded, her face unreadable. My mother dialed the number for her private banker. Her voice was strained as she went through the security questions. "Yes, I am calling about the trust for Clara," she said. "I want to release all holds on it. Give her full and immediate access. Yes, unconditional." She listened for a moment. "Yes, I understand. Thank you." She hung up. "It is done," she said, not looking at me. "It will be effective within the hour." "One last thing," I said. "The apology." She stiffened. This was the hardest part for her, the ultimate humiliation, to admit she was wrong. She took a shaky breath. She turned to the captain and Maria. "Captain Evans, Maria, I am sorry for taking up your time with this misunderstanding." The words sounded like they were being torn from her throat. "And?" I prompted. She turned to me. Her eyes were filled with a hatred so pure it was terrifying. But she was trapped. "Clara," she began, her voice a choked whisper. I'm sorry. I was wrong to cancel your flight. I was wrong to take your money." It was the first time in my life I had ever heard her admit to being wrong about anything. It did not feel as satisfying as I thought it would. It just felt sad. "Thank you," I said quietly. I closed my laptop. "I believe we are done here." I stood up. I nodded to the captain and Maria. "Thank you for your assistance." "You are welcome, Clara," the captain said. His eyes held a newfound respect. "I am glad we could find a resolution." I walked to the door. I did not look back at my family. I did not want to see their faces. I just wanted to leave. As I opened the door, I heard Robert's voice, trembling with a mixture of anger and betrayal. Diana, you had better start talking. Right now. I closed the door behind me, shutting out the sound of my family imploding. I spent the last day of the cruise in my cabin. I ordered the most expensive things on the room service menu: steak, lobster, champagne. I had a trust fund now. I could afford it. I watched movies. I took a long bath. I did not leave my room. I did not want to see any of them. Late that night, there was a soft knock on my door. I hesitated, then opened it a crack. It was Leo. He looked terrible. His eyes were red-rimmed, and he looked like he had not slept. "Can I come in?" he asked. His voice was hoarse. I opened the door wider. He stepped inside. He just stood there for a moment, looking around the small room. "She told us," he said finally. "She told us everything. About the money. All of it." I did not say anything. I just waited. "I cannot believe it," he whispered. "All these years, she was stealing from Dad, from the company." "Stepdad," I corrected him quietly. "He is not your real father either." He flinched. "From Robert, then. How could she do that? He loves her. He gives her everything." "She is who she is, Leo," I said. "You just never wanted to see it." He looked at me, his eyes full of a strange new understanding. You knew before this trip, did you not? That is why you were so calm. You had this all planned." "I had a contingency plan," I said. I hoped I would never have to use it, but Mom forced my hand. He shook his head slowly. "Robert is a wreck. He is talking about divorce. The company, if this gets out, it could ruin him." "It will not get out," I said. "As long as they hold up their end of the deal. The files are my insurance policy. They stay private as long as I am left alone." He was silent for a long time. Then he said, "I am sorry, Clara." I looked at him, surprised. "For what?" "For everything," he said. "For all the years I stood by and let her treat you like that. I was a coward. I just wanted to keep the peace. I did not want her to turn on me." "I understand," I said. And I did. I had been doing the same thing for years. "No, you do not," he said. "You stood up to her. I never did. I am so sorry." I saw tears welling up in his eyes. For the first time, I felt a connection to my brother that had been missing for years. We were both just scared kids trying to survive our mother. "It is okay, Leo," I said. "What happens now?" "I do not know," he said. "Robert and Mom are not speaking. Sarah is horrified. This whole trip, this whole family, it is all a lie." He looked at me. "Are you going to be okay?" "I am going to be great," I said. And I meant it. The next morning, the ship docked. I walked off the gangway without a single look back. I took a taxi to the airport. I checked in for my first-class flight. I went to the lounge and ordered an orange juice. I checked my bank account on my phone. All the money was there. The trust fund was active. It was real. I was free. As I sat there waiting for my flight to board, my phone buzzed. It was a text from my mother. I almost deleted it without reading it. But curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. The message read, "I hope you are happy. You have destroyed everything. I will never forgive you for this." I looked at the message. I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness. Just a quiet emptiness where my love for her used to be. She still did not get it. She still thought she was the victim. She would never change. I thought about what to write back. A long, angry message detailing all her crimes? A cold, dismissive one? I typed out a reply, then deleted it. I typed another. Deleted it. Finally, I found the right words. Just 2 of them. I typed, "I know." Then I blocked her number. I blocked Robert's number. I blocked Leo's number, but I hesitated. I would unblock him later. Maybe. I boarded my flight. I found my seat. It was a spacious pod with a lie flat bed. A flight attendant offered me a glass of champagne. I took it. As the plane took off, I looked out the window at the city below. I was leaving my old life behind. I did not know what my future would hold. I did not know if I would ever see my family again. But for the first time in a very long time, I felt something I had not felt since I was a little girl. I felt hopeful. And I felt safe. The price of my freedom had been high. But as I sipped my champagne and settled in for the long flight home, I knew it was worth every penny. The flight was long, but I did not mind. It was a period of decompression. For the first time in my adult life, I was not worried about a phone call from my mother or an email with a list of demands. The silence was a luxury. I watched 2 movies, I ate a surprisingly good meal, and I slept for several hours in the lie-flat bed. I felt like I was shedding a skin. The old, timid Clara was gone. The new one was still taking shape. But I knew she was stronger. When I landed in my home city, I felt a sense of calm I had not expected. I had no one to report to, no one to check in with. I took a taxi to my small apartment. It had never felt so much like a sanctuary. I dropped my bags, walked into my living room, and just stood there for a long moment, breathing in the familiar air of my own space. It was mine. Truly mine. The first few days were an adjustment. I kept expecting my phone to ring with an angry summons from my mother. I kept bracing myself for a confrontation, but there was only silence. The family I had known was gone. The structure, as toxic as it was, had vanished. I was on my own. I decided to use some of the money from the trust fund to make some changes. I had always wanted to travel. Not on a cruise ship, locked in with people I did not want to be with, but on my own terms. I bought a ticket to Italy. I had always dreamed of seeing Rome and Florence. I booked a 2-week trip staying in small, charming hotels. It was something my mother would have called frivolous and irresponsible. That made me want to do it even more. Before I left, I had one piece of unfinished business. I found a new bank. I went in and met with a financial advisor. I explained that I wanted to move my trust fund and all my personal savings to their institution. I wanted no connection to my family's bank. I wanted a clean break. The advisor was helpful and professional. He did not ask any personal questions. He just helped me with the paperwork. As I signed the final forms, I felt another layer of my old life fall away. While I was at the bank, I checked the balance of the old joint account I had shared with my mother. She had transferred the money back as I demanded, but I did not want it sitting there. I transferred every last cent into my new account, and then I filled out the form to close the joint account permanently. The teller confirmed it was done. The last financial link to my mother was severed. A week later, I was in Rome. It was everything I had hoped it would be. I walked for miles every day, exploring ancient ruins and cobblestone streets. I ate gelato. I drank espresso in small cafes. I was completely anonymous. No one knew me. No one had any expectations of me. I was just a young woman seeing the world. It was liberating. One afternoon, I was sitting by a fountain in a sunny piazza, sketching in my notebook. My phone buzzed. It was an email from an unknown address. My first instinct was to delete it, but something made me open it. The email was from my stepfather, Robert. "Clara," it began. "I know you do not want to hear from us. I do not blame you. I am writing to you because I need you to know what has happened. Diana and I are getting a divorce. The lawyers are involved now. It is a mess." I read the words, and I felt a strange mix of emotions. There was no triumph. No, "I told you so." Just a quiet sadness for the man he was and the life he thought he had. The email continued. She admitted everything to me. The money, the lies, all of it. I have spent the last 20 years of my life with a woman I do not even know. I defended her to you. I told you to be patient, to be understanding. I was a fool. I am so sorry, Clara. I failed you as a father." I had never thought of him as a father. He was just my mother's husband. But reading his words, I realized he had tried, in his own weak way. He had just been outmatched by her. "I know you have the documents," he wrote. "My lawyers have told me that if those get out, the company is finished. I would be ruined. I am not asking you to destroy them. I know they are your security. But I am asking you to promise me you will not use them unless you are forced to. I am trying to salvage what is left of my life. I am going to pay back every dollar she took from the company, even if it takes me the rest of my life." He ended the email by saying he hoped I was well and that he wished me a happy life. He did not ask for a response. I sat there for a long time looking at the fountain. The water sparkled in the sun. Children were laughing nearby. I thought about Robert, a man whose world had been shattered. I thought about my mother, alone and facing the consequences of her actions for the first time in her life. I thought about Leo, caught in the middle. I decided not to reply to Robert's email. There was nothing to say. My silence was my answer. The documents would remain my insurance. As long as they left me alone, their secrets were safe with me. It was not forgiveness. It was a truce. A cold, practical truce. I spent another week in Italy, and then I flew home. I came back to my apartment feeling renewed. The trip had cleared my head. I dove back into my work with a new passion. My designs were better, more creative. I took on new clients. My business started to grow. I was not just supporting myself anymore. I was thriving. About a month after I got back, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but I answered on a whim. "Hello? Clara, it is Leo." His voice was tentative. "Hi, Leo," I said. "I know you blocked me," he said. "I got a new phone. I wanted to see how you were." "I am good," I said. "I am doing really well." "I heard you went to Italy," he said. "That is great." There was an awkward pause. "How are things with you?" I asked. He sighed. "It is a mess. The divorce is getting ugly. Mom is not doing well. She had to sell her car. They are selling the house." "I am sorry to hear that," I said. And I was. I did not wish her ill. I just wished her out of my life. "The thing is," he continued, "she wants to see you. She is in therapy now. She says she wants to apologize properly." I felt a cold dread creep up my spine. The old pattern, the manipulation, the performance of remorse to get what she wanted. "No," I said. The word was firm, unwavering. "Clara, please," he said. "She is really trying to change." "Leo, I am happy for her if she is trying to change," I said. "I hope she gets the help she needs. But my healing requires her to not be in my life. I am not a part of her recovery process. My answer is no." He was silent for a moment. I could hear the disappointment in his voice. "Okay," he said finally. I had to ask. "I understand," I said. "Leo, I need you to do something for me. I need you to not call me on her behalf again. If you want to have a relationship with me, it has to be separate from her." "I get it," he said quietly. "I promise." We talked for a few more minutes about neutral things. His job, my work. It was stilted, but it was a start. It was the first normal conversation we had had in years. When we hung up, I felt okay. I had set a boundary, and he had respected it. Maybe there was hope for a relationship with my brother after all. A few months passed. Life settled into a new normal. A good normal. I was working, I was saving money, I was making friends. I was building a life that was entirely my own. One day, I got a package in the mail. It was a small box. There was no return address. I opened it carefully. Inside, nestled in tissue paper, was a ship's captain's pen, the kind with the cruise line logo on it. Tucked underneath it was a simple, handwritten note on a postcard of a tropical island. The note said, "Heard you made it home safely," and then some. "Keep sailing your own course." Your friend, Captain Evans. I smiled. I had almost forgotten about him. The kind man who had taken a chance on a desperate young woman. He had been the catalyst for everything. He had given me the space and the tools to fight my own battle. He did not solve my problems for me. He empowered me to solve them myself. I put the pen on my desk where I could see it every day. It was a reminder of the floating cage I had escaped from, a reminder of the person I had become, a reminder that sometimes the most unexpected people can become your allies, and a reminder that I was the captain of my own ship now, and I was never going to let anyone else take the helm again. My journey was just beginning. Life continued to move forward. The seasons changed. I found that the sharp edges of the past were beginning to soften. The anger was fading, replaced by a quiet sense of peace. The trauma was still there, a scar that would likely never disappear completely, but it no longer ached with the same intensity. It was just a part of my story now, not the whole narrative. My relationship with Leo slowly started to mend. We started texting occasionally, then talking on the phone once every few weeks. He never mentioned our mother. He talked about his life with Sarah, his struggles at work, the new dog they adopted. It was mundane, normal stuff, and it was wonderful. We were building something new, a sibling relationship that was not filtered through the lens of our mother's approval or disapproval. One day, he called me and asked if I wanted to meet for coffee. I was hesitant. Meeting in person felt like a bigger step. What if he tried to ambush me with our mother? Just us, he said, as if reading my mind. I promise. Sarah might come, if that is okay. She really wants to see you. I trusted him. We had been building that trust for months. I agreed. We met at a small coffee shop downtown. When I walked in, Leo and Sarah were already there. They both stood up when they saw me. Sarah gave me a warm, genuine hug. "It is so good to see you, Clara," she said. "You look amazing." It was not a backhanded compliment like the ones my mother used to give. It was just a nice thing to say. We sat and talked for over an hour. Sarah told me about her new job at a nonprofit. Leo complained good-naturedly about their puppy chewing up his favorite shoes. They asked me about my work, and they seemed genuinely interested in my answers. They were proud of my success. Towards the end of our conversation, Sarah put her hand on my arm. "Clara," she said, her voice serious, "I need to apologize to you. For all those years on the sidelines, I saw how Diana treated you. And I said nothing. I was afraid of her, and I was selfish. I am so sorry." Her apology felt different from my mother's forced words in the captain's office. It was sincere. I could see the regret in her eyes. "Thank you, Sarah," I said. "That means a lot to me." We left the coffee shop with a promise to do it again soon. As I walked home, I felt a lightness in my chest. I had lost a mother and a stepfather, but I was slowly gaining a brother and a sister-in-law. It was a trade I was more than willing to make. A few weeks later, I was working on a big project for a new client. It was a rebranding campaign for a luxury hotel chain. It was the biggest contract I had ever landed. I was pouring all my energy into it, working late nights, fueled by coffee and the thrill of the challenge. One evening, I was doing some research online, looking at competitor websites. I clicked on a link to a travel blog that was reviewing one of the hotels. As I scrolled through the article, a pop-up ad appeared on the side of the screen. It was an ad for a cruise line. The same cruise line from that fateful trip. My heart skipped a beat. I almost closed the ad, but then I saw the picture. It was a photo of a smiling, distinguished-looking man in a captain's uniform. It was Captain Evans. The ad was for a series of Meet the Captain cruises, where he would be giving lectures and hosting special dinners. On a whim, I clicked the link. It took me to the cruise line's website. I found the page for the special cruises. There was a short bio of Captain Evans. It mentioned his years of service, his love of the sea, and his commitment to passenger safety. There was also a link to a Q&A he had done for the company's newsletter. I clicked on the Q&A. I scrolled through the generic questions. What is your favorite port? What is the most challenging part of your job? Then I came to the last question. What is the most memorable experience you have had as a captain? His answer was long, but one part of it stood out to me. He wrote, the most memorable moments are not always the dramatic storms or the beautiful sunsets. Sometimes, they are the quiet human dramas you witness. I once had a situation involving a young passenger who was in a very difficult position due to a family conflict. I will not go into the details to protect her privacy. But I was so impressed by her courage and her intelligence. She was facing an overwhelming challenge, but she handled it with a grace and strength that was truly inspiring. She did not ask me to fight her battles for her. She just asked for a fair chance to fight them herself, and she won. Seeing her walk off that ship, confident and free, was one of the proudest moments of my career. It reminded me that the most important part of my job is not just navigating the ship, but helping the people on board navigate their own journeys as well. I read the words 3 times, my eyes filled with tears, but they were not sad tears. They were tears of gratitude. He remembered me. I was not just another problem passenger to him. I had made an impact on him, just as he had made an impact on me. I closed the website. I did not need to book a cruise to see him. His note and his pen were enough. His words in that interview were more than enough. He had given me a gift that day in his office, a gift of validation and empowerment. And now, he had given me another one, the knowledge that my struggle had meant something, that my story had a witness who saw me not as a victim, but as a hero. The hotel rebranding project was a huge success. The client was thrilled. They signed me to a long-term contract. My little freelance business was suddenly not so little anymore. I had to hire an assistant. I moved into a bigger apartment with a dedicated office space. My life was moving forward at a pace that was both exhilarating and a little scary. One day, my new assistant, a bright young woman named Chloe, was sorting my mail. "You got a letter here that looks kind of personal," she said, handing me a thick cream-colored envelope. The handwriting was unfamiliar. I opened it. It was an invitation. My cousin was getting married. The wedding was in a few months in my hometown. My first thought was, my mother will be there. I put the invitation on my desk and stared at it. It was a dilemma. I loved my cousin. We had been close as kids. I wanted to be there for her on her wedding day. But the thought of seeing my mother filled me with anxiety. I had built such a peaceful life for myself. Did I want to risk disrupting it? I called Leo. "I got the invitation to Jessica's wedding," I said. "Yeah, me too," he said. "Are you going?" "I do not know," I admitted. Is she going to be there?" "Yes," he said. Robert is not. They are divorced now, so he was not invited. But Mom will be there. The whole family will be." I was silent. "Look, Clara," he said. "If you do not want to go, I get it. Everyone will understand. But if you do go, I will be there with you. Sarah and I. We will be your buffer. We will not let her get anywhere near you if you do not want her to." His offer was a lifeline. It was a testament to how far our relationship had come. He was not asking me to make peace for his sake. He was offering me support for my sake. "Let me think about it," I said. I thought about it for a week. I went back and forth. Part of me wanted to stay safe in my new life, far away from the drama. But another part of me felt a new kind of strength. I was not that scared girl on the cruise ship anymore. I had faced my mother at her worst, and I had won. Why should I let her ghost keep me from celebrating with a cousin I loved? I was not going to let her control my life, even from a distance. I called Leo back. "I am going," I said. The day of the wedding arrived. I flew into my hometown. I had booked a room at a nice hotel. I did not want to stay with any relatives. I needed my own space. I met Leo and Sarah at the church. They both gave me big hugs. "You came," Leo said, smiling. "You look beautiful," Sarah said, admiring my dress. It was a vibrant floral dress full of life and color. Nothing plain about it. Ready for this? Leo asked, his eyes searching mine. Ready, I said, taking a deep breath. We walked into the church. It was already filling up with guests. I saw aunts, uncles, cousins. Some of them looked at me with surprise, some with curiosity. A few gave me warm, welcoming smiles. And then I saw her. My mother was sitting in the second row. She was wearing a subdued gray dress. She looked older than I remembered. Thinner. There were lines around her eyes and mouth that had not been there before. She had not seen me yet. We took our seats a few rows behind her. My heart was pounding, but I focused on breathing. I was here for my cousin Jessica. That was all that mattered. The ceremony was beautiful. Jessica was a radiant bride. I felt a genuine happiness for her. During the service, I felt eyes on me. I glanced over and saw that my mother had turned slightly in her seat. She was looking at me. Her expression was not angry. It was not sad. It was empty. She held my gaze for a moment and then she turned away. At the reception, I stuck close to Leo and Sarah. They were true to their word. They acted as a human shield, chatting with me, getting me drinks, and steering me away from any potential encounters. I managed to talk to a lot of my relatives. The ones who had been afraid of my mother before were now surprisingly friendly. The family dynamic had shifted. My mother was no longer the queen bee. She was just a divorced woman in a gray dress, sitting at a table with her sisters. I had a wonderful time talking to my cousin Jessica. "I am so glad you came, Clara," she said, hugging me tightly. "It means the world to me." "I would not have missed it," I said. As the night went on, I started to relax. I was dancing with a group of cousins when I saw my mother get up from her table. She was walking towards the exit. She paused for a moment and looked across the dance floor. Her eyes found mine again. This time, I did not look away. I just met her gaze, my expression neutral. She gave me a small, almost imperceptible nod. Then she turned and walked out of the reception hall. She was gone. I did not know what the nod meant. Was it an admission of defeat? A sign of truce? A final goodbye? I did not know, and I realized I did not care. Whatever it meant, it was her issue, not mine. I had my own life to live. I stayed at the wedding for another hour, laughing and dancing. I felt free. The final ghost had been faced. The final chain had been broken. I had walked back into the lion's den, and I had walked out unscathed. Not because the lion had been tamed, but because I was no longer afraid of its roar. Flying home the next day, I felt a profound sense of closure. The past was finally where it belonged. In the past. My future was a blank page, and I had a beautiful pen to write it with. And I knew, with a certainty that settled deep in my bones, that the story I was going to write would be a happy one. It would be a story of my own making.